Picture a young man, 20 years old, broken, with no college degree, no stable career, and no clear future. The world looks at him and says he will never make it. But deep inside, he carries a burning belief that he is destined for something greater. This was Larry Ellison, a college dropout who bounced from job to job, who grew up without wealth or privilege, who was often called reckless and arrogant. And yet that same man would go on to build Oracle, one of the most powerful tech companies in the world, and become one of the richest people on earth. Larry's story is not just about business success. It is about defiance, about refusing to let circumstances, critics, or even failure decide his destiny. Larry Ellison was born in 1944 in the Bronx, New York, to a single mother who was only 19 years old. His father abandoned the family before Larry was even born. At just 9 months old, his mother made the difficult decision to send him to live with her aunt and uncle in Chicago. The Ellison household was not wealthy. They lived in a modest apartment on the South Side, where poverty was an everyday reality. Larry's adoptive father was often harsh, critical, and dismissive. He constantly told Larry he would never amount to much. Growing up, Larry felt like an outsider, abandoned by his parents, struggling to fit in, and always being told he wasn't good enough. But rather than letting it crush him, he turned that pain into fuel. Deep inside, he made a decision. One day, he would prove them all wrong. Larry was not a model student. He struggled in school, restless and uninterested in traditional academics. But what he lacked in classroom discipline, he made up for in curiosity. As a teenager, Larry discovered a passion for science and technology. He spent hours reading about machines, computers, and engineering. While other kids played outside, Larry buried himself in books about rockets and space travel. He didn't care about memorizing facts for exams. He wanted to understand how the world worked. Eventually, he enrolled at the University of Illinois. But just as things were starting to look hopeful, tragedy struck. His adoptive mother passed away during his sophomore year. Devastated, Larry dropped out and never returned. Later, he attempted to study at the University of Chicago, but left after only 1 semester. By then, Larry had no degree, no career path, and no clear future. Yet what he did have was far more powerful: a restless mind, a relentless work ethic, and an obsession with technology. With little to his name, Larry packed up and moved to California. The 1960s in Silicon Valley were filled with innovation, rebellion, and wild new ideas. It was the perfect place for someone like him. Larry worked odd programming jobs just to survive. He was a technician here, a programmer there, sometimes earning barely enough to get by. He lived cheaply, often on the edge of poverty. But every job was a stepping stone. He wasn't just earning money, he was learning. At companies like Amdahl Corporation and Ampex, he absorbed everything he could about software and databases. He was not the kind of person who wanted to blend in quietly. He wanted to disrupt. He wanted to innovate. He famously said, "When you innovate, you've got to be prepared for everyone telling you you're nuts." That belief guided his every move. While working at Ampex, Larry was assigned to a special project for the CIA. The project was called Oracle. The task was simple: design a database capable of storing and retrieving massive amounts of information. But Larry saw something that few others recognized at the time. The future of computing wasn't about the machines. It was about the data. He realized that businesses, governments, and organizations were drowning in information, and whoever controlled that data would control the future. That single project planted the seed of a billion-dollar idea. In 1977, with only $2,000 of his own money and another $1,200 from 2 partners, Larry Ellison co-founded a small company called Software Development Laboratories. Their mission was ambitious: build database software that could revolutionize the industry. But the road was brutal. They had no major investors, no guarantees of success, and they were going up against giants like IBM. Most dismissed the tiny startup as insignificant, even laughable. In the early days, Oracle's software was buggy, slow, and unreliable. Customers complained. Bills went unpaid. Salaries were delayed. Bankruptcy loomed over them more than once. Most entrepreneurs would have given up. But Larry Ellison was not like most entrepreneurs. He refused to quit. Where others saw disaster, Larry saw lessons. Where others panicked, he doubled down. He kept improving the product, kept pitching to clients, kept convincing people to believe in his vision. By the early 1980s, the company, now officially named Oracle, began to break through. Its relational database technology was faster and more efficient than anything else on the market. Larry wasn't just a tech visionary. He was a master salesman. With charisma, confidence, and bold promises, he convinced corporations and government agencies to use Oracle's software. His audacity sometimes terrified his employees, but clients couldn't resist his conviction. In 1986, Oracle went public. The college dropout who once slept in cheap apartments was suddenly the CEO of a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But success was fragile. By the 1990s, Oracle stumbled badly. Accounting scandals and massive financial missteps nearly destroyed the company. Competitors circled like vultures. Analysts predicted the end. Yet once again, Larry Ellison refused to surrender. He cut costs, reorganized the business, and pushed Oracle into new markets. Slowly, the company recovered. And not only did it survive, it thrived. Larry's ambition didn't stop at survival. He wanted dominance. Under his leadership, Oracle aggressively expanded, acquiring competitors and moving into enterprise software, cloud computing, and beyond. He was known for his ruthless competitiveness, but also for his visionary strategies. Oracle's products became essential to banks, airlines, retailers, and governments around the world. Larry Ellison was no longer just a dropout who beat the odds. He was a global tech titan. Ellison's leadership style was intense, demanding, and sometimes controversial. He wasn't the kind of leader who offered comfort. He pushed people hard, expecting them to match his passion and ambition. But his philosophy was clear. Think big, take risks, never settle for mediocrity. He believed that failure was not an endpoint, but a necessary step toward success. He often reminded people that innovation would always attract criticism, and that the only way forward was to push past it. When you have a vision that's strong enough and powerful enough, he once said, nothing can stand in your way. Even as a billionaire, Larry never stopped facing obstacles. From lawsuits and corporate rivalries to the rise of new technologies, Oracle constantly had to fight to stay relevant. But every challenge only strengthened Larry's resolve. When critics said Oracle could never compete with Microsoft or IBM, he proved them wrong. When people declared that cloud computing would destroy Oracle, he pivoted the company and ensured it remained a force in the new era. Resilience became his trademark. Time and time again, he turned setbacks into comebacks. Larry Ellison's story proves something powerful. Success is not reserved for the privileged or the perfectly educated. It belongs to those who refuse to accept limits. He was abandoned as a child. He grew up poor on the south side of Chicago. He dropped out of college twice. He failed, he was ridiculed, and his company nearly went bankrupt. And yet he built one of the most powerful technology empires in history. His life reminds us that your past does not define you. Your critics do not control your destiny. And failure is never final unless you choose to quit. So what is the lesson here? Larry Ellison didn't just build Oracle. He built a life on his own terms. He proved that you don't need approval, degrees, or privilege to achieve greatness. What you need is vision, persistence, and the courage to keep moving forward when everyone tells you no. Now I want to ask you, what is the dream inside you that the world keeps calling impossible? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear the bold ideas you're working on. And if Larry Ellison's journey inspired you today, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more motivational stories of dreamers who changed the world. Always remember, your circumstances don't control your future. Your mindset does. The empire you dream of building begins with one step, one risk, one bold decision. Take that step today.